Welcome to Community Uplift. I'm Brother Eric Fields, and I'll be your guide as we chronicle the historic second quarter century of service that turned the Gamma Pi chapter of Omega Psi Phi into the super chapter. Coming up, we'll sit down with a few of the chapter's leaders and hear their stories of how decades of commitment to community developed into what we see today. How did it happen? What were the challenges? How did they persevere? Most importantly, how does it all shape the next half century? We're celebrating 50 years of Gamma Pi service to Prince George's County. This is Community Uplift. Welcome back to Community Uplift. We're joined by two of Gamma Pi's most influential leaders, friends who have been great souls of loving spirits to our brotherhood and the community. They've been on the front lines of service, and their stories helped shape how the journey unfolded. Please welcome Brother Kenneth Rogers and Brother Stephen Walls. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
Good evening.
Fantastic. Brother Rogers and Walls, both of you have enduring legacies in Gamma Pi, and you've been here for many years. Please tell us, Brother Rogers, if you would start off, how your legacy began and where you see Gamma Pi going in the near future.
Well, thank you for the question. I just think I'm fortunate. I've migrated to the Maryland area in 1992, and I was introduced to Gamma Pi chapter through a brother that actually saw me parked on the side of the road, Brother Richard Moore. And I went to a chapter social event, a picnic, and from there I became very interested in becoming a member of the chapter. I've been fortunate in terms of the legacy of this chapter just to be around stalwart brothers, many brothers who set, great examples of mentorship and leadership and nurtured me to become, hopefully the mega man that some people think that I have become as a way of my trek in leadership roles.
Outstanding. Thank you, Brother Rogers. Brother Walls, you, sir, were the first Gamma Pi initiated brother to become bossless as well as the chapter historian. Please tell us a little bit about that role and where you see Gamma Pi going over the next 50 years.
Well, that certainly wasn't planned. I don't think that anybody comes into the fraternity and ascribes to leadership and says, I want to be the first, what have you. It just kind of happened. And in fact, if it wasn't for my line brother, the Honorable Ambassador Teddy Taylor, who was in front, and he had to go to a foreign duty station, he would have been first.
Sure.
But nonetheless, I think at the time that I became bossless, we were going into a new millennium. Mm-hmm. There was a new energy that was in the chapter. The chapter had grown, and it seemed that it was time for younger brothers to step forward and take on leadership roles. So I was lucky and glad that that happened. Ironically, Brother Rogers ended up serving as my KRS during the first term, and my line brother, rather my blood brother, Brother Lavelle Walls, ended up serving as the Keeper of Finance. Mm-hmm. So it was a very interesting time, very exciting time. But that time period hopefully guided us into greater heights going into the 2000s.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great time. Sounds like a great time. Brother Rogers, you are the only Gamma Pi brother that's actually served on the Supreme Council as a Grand KRS. Please, if you wouldn't mind, just share that particular journey with us and how it affected Gamma Pi.
Well, again, that journey began here in Gamma Pi. Again, I had leaders and mentors that kind of nurtured me and kind of created a strong foundation in me. I became the first serving 3-term Basileus in the chapter. And from there were others that believed in me and thought that I should continue to seek leadership roles in Omega. Brother Phil Ferguson in Omega chapter, and Brother Roland Bird drafted a letter to all the former district representatives supporting me as a candidate for District Keeper of Records and Seal. And as they say, the rest is history. I went on to become first vice district representative, and then Grand Keeper of Records and Seal. But I owe all the credit to the members of this chapter who really stood beside me, lifted me up, and supported me to ensure that we were successful. And I say we because I couldn't have done this without the support of my chapter, the Gamma Pi chapter.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Brother Walls, what do you think it took for Gamma Pi to get to this point of being recognized and respected in the 2nd District?
Well, it's all as a result of the work that we've done in the community. I think that what gets lost is the amount of labor that goes into putting on the social action programs that we have. Sure. There's a lot of sacrifice. You know, of course, you know that our programs typically take place on weekends. There's only 52 weekends that we have. And so if it wasn't for the hard work of the brothers and their sacrifice and their families, we wouldn't have gotten to the heights that we've gotten to. So it's all as a result of the hard work of the brotherhood.
Thank you very much for that. Well, brothers, another historic moment for Gamma Pi was when Brother Walls was Basileus the 2nd time around, and we actually were the 2nd District Chapter of the Year. Share that with us and how that was achieved.
Well, I think in that period, and that period, of course, was encapsulated with the pandemic that affected not only our community, but communities all over the world. There was a need for organizations to step out and help communities in the items that they could not really get. And one was, of course, food. And so we started a food distribution, and that really started very small in stature, because what we recognized was that the school system was able to feed the elementary and middle school students, but there wasn't a mechanism to make sure that the high school students could get food. And so we thought, well, if we can help them, we can help the high school students, we will have covered the gamut. So we got in contact with Dr. Monica Goldson, who was the Prince George's County superintendent, and asked for her permission to have food distributions. And she granted that permission to have it at high schools. And so we kind of started small. We were able to get in contact with the Capital Area Food Bank. They gave us a chance. They gave us some food, and I guess you want to say the rest is history, because we fed well over 70,000 families during that period. So once again, though, it's the sacrifice of the brotherhood, because no one knew what was going on, and brothers came out and assisted when they can. So kudos to the chapter for participating.
Outstanding, outstanding. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Brother Rogers, what was the chapter like in the 2000s?
I think the chapter was very enthusiastic. It was growing. I think we had come into the 2000s with a really on an ego trip. I think we realized that, you know, some of the things that we had been doing in the past, we weren't getting some of the recognition I think we truly deserved from a district or national standpoint. And one of the things that we did in the 2000s, we started having mass participation at the district level, at the national level. And we became the super chapter in many ways, in that brothers sought us out in terms of friendship, in terms of how we conducted our business, and we became sort of an example to other chapters. So the challenge was just ensuring that brothers, you know, understood their role and had a role, had responsibilities, and they rose to the occasion and made us, you know, grow and nurture in this community and also within the fraternity.
Outstanding, outstanding. And we've got another 50 to 100 years to go.
Yes.
Yes. Brother Walls, if you were to look into the future, where do you see Gamma Pi in the next 50 years? What will we achieve? Where will we be? What will we mean to the community?
Well, I think if you look forward to 2073, of course, none of us probably will be around by then, but if you look 50 years into the future, what I see is that the chapter will continue to move forward and go towards projects of impact. I think that's what is desirous of the community. They want the chapter and the fraternity to assist them in levels where they are. So I see us doing bigger and better things. I see our projects that'll be of such impact that the community is going to rally to ensure success. So 2073, I think that we'll be double the size that we are, and I think that we'll be double and triple in terms of impact to the community.
Excellent, excellent. Looking forward to that. Brother Rogers, I do want to ask you this question. What do you think Gamma Pi has meant to the local community of Prince George's County since you've been here?
Gamma Pi is a pillar in the community. I mean, we have led the way in terms of political activism. We've led the way in terms of community service. We've led the way in terms of economic empowerment. We have programs that aid both the young and the old, and we are a chapter that continues to strive to get better, recognizing the needs of our community, and I can see us continuing to do that as we move forward.
Okay, outstanding, outstanding. Brother Walls, if you were to discuss your two terms, I guess, as bossless, which one would you say was more impactful? And is there anything that you would have liked to accomplish before you left office?
If I were to compare the two, probably the last one, and only in the terms of the difference in the world, the technology that existed in the first term, starting in 1998. We were literally just getting on the internet. We were just trying to get used to changing the way that we do business, using email, things like that. So I think the first term was sort of a transition. 21, 22 years later, when I served the second term starting in 2019, I think the difference was that we were in a pandemic. And so everybody was in the same environment. We chose to do something, and I think that we came out of it better than when we went in. So I think that now the chapter is known as, a subject matter expert in certain areas. I think that the community looks at us for support in even greater degrees. I think that the powers to be, the elected officials, also look at us in the same vein. And so I think going forward, we'll still continue to hold that position.
Outstanding. Well, Brother Rogers, you're going to have the last word in this segment. As the only chapter representative to serve on the Supreme Council as the Grand KRS, tell us about that experience and where you would see the fraternity going in the future.
It was an honor to serve as the Grand Keeper of Rex and Seal, but again, I give all the honor and glory to my brothers here in Gamma Pi chapter, because again, I couldn't have done that without them. But serving on the Supreme Council, you had an opportunity to see the bigger picture, the impact that we make, not only as a chapter or a district, but really as a fraternity, where everything combined together. I got to serve with some great leaders. And it was a great experience serving as the Grand Keeper of Rex and Seal, particularly because we were moving towards new innovation. Brother Walls mentioned the use of technology, and I think that's something we got a chance to explore a little bit with the office. I had the opportunity to look at some of the basic infrastructure, if you will, but I guess in a simpler term, we had fraternity pins that were kind of aged out, and I got a chance to be a part of change that would, create some new looks and design for the fraternity. So it was just an opportunity to serve, and I think that's what Omega Psi Phi is all about. In addition to friendship, it's an opportunity to serve, and so I was grateful to have that opportunity.
Outstanding. Thank you for your work, Brother Rogers. Brothers, thank you for your service and friendship. And thank you for all that you do. Next on Community Uplift, the 2010s was an electric era in society. Entertainment, media, and technology has been moving faster than ever, expanding the realms of community connection. Coming up next, we'll talk to two brothers who helped us ensure that connection stays strong.
We grew up together. We believed in something bigger than ourselves. The military took me to one side of the world and her to the other. And even though she was always the strong one, when we caught up years later, I found out she had fallen on some hard times. It was her call to make, but doing it together made all the difference.
When I see homeless vets on my route, I always think to myself, we both swore an oath to protect our way of life, to protect our community. With VA's hotline for homeless vets, I can get them connected with help to get them back on their feet again.
VA's round-the-clock hotline can put veterans who are homeless in touch with the resources and support they earned through their military service. You have the power to help a veteran facing homelessness. Go to va.gov/homeless to print your walled cards. For veterans who are homeless or on the brink of homelessness, call 877-424-3838.
Welcome back to Community Uplift. These two brothers were vital in helping Gamma Pi navigate the last decade plus. It moved quickly, and it certainly came with its challenges. But these two helped us see it through. Brother Teddy Taylor and Brother Brian Long, thank you for joining us. Brother Long, we're going to go with you with the first question. And what I'd like to know is, how did community service in Prince George's County evolve during the 2010s when you were very active in the chapter and you were serving in leadership as well?
Thank you for that question. And first of all, I want to say it's an honor and a pleasure to be here this evening with you and to talk about the Gamma Pi chapter, better known as the Super Chapter.
Yes.
The answer to your question, to respond to your question, I would say during that era, social action evolved a lot in serving the communities, in serving the Prince George's community. We became so active that almost every Saturday we had something to do in the community. There were times when we have chapter meeting, we would be coming from a social action program or event where we were very dutifully in charge, dutifully active, and then we would leave there and come to chapter meeting. So at that period of time, social action and serving the area of Prince George's community was very, very top of the list for the Gamma Pi chapter.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that. Brother Teddy Taylor, you are the only ambassador that we have in our chapter, as well as one of the former Basilei.
Yes.
How do these two positions correspond to each other? And did you have anything to learn from each of them to help Omega?
First of all, thank you for having me here, and it's always a privilege to talk about the Super Chapter. It was about leadership. Fortunately for me, when I entered into the fraternity, the senior brothers in Gamma Pi chapter embraced me, saw my skill set, and encouraged me to seek leadership roles. Many years later, when I was nominated by President Obama and confirmed by the Senate later on to become a U.S. ambassador. By then, I had gone through the leadership trials and tribulations within the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. That in itself will prepare you to lead a group of Type A personalities. And my colleagues in the State Department, as diverse as they are in terms of gender, race, etc., they still are also a group of Type A personalities. It's about trying to inspire people to do their best. It's about inspiring people to take on and get behind a certain goal and a set of objectives. And both jobs prepared me for leadership within both organizations.
Outstanding, and thank you for that. Brother Long, you not only served as bosses of Gamma Pi, you are also currently, I believe, a third-term Chief of Staff for the 2nd District of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. If you could, just give us a moment and tell us how that transpired and how that's been over the years and serving Gamma Pi as well as the 2nd District in your roles.
Sure. Actually, I'm currently in my 4th term.
4th term.
As Chief of Staff for the district. And actually, that started under our 35th District Representative, Brother Sherman Charles, who is now the current Grand Keeper of Records and Seal. And he approached me and asked me if I would serve as his Chief of Staff, and I asked what did that entail, and we went into a conversation with that. And that was more like an advisor and an administrative officer and a confidant. Mm-hmm. And so I said, sure, I can do that. I can handle that with you. But I could say that being in the office of bosses of Gamma Pi, that prepared me for that position. Being a bosses at Gamma Pi is no joke. Mm. It will make you step up to the plate, because you have brothers to serve, not just the community, but you have to serve the brothers as well. And so that really helped me to grow, not spiritually, mentally, and professionally, because on my job, I am a leader as well. So that really helped me in my growth in leadership, as well as becoming the Chief of Staff for the district.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Brother Taylor, where would you like to see Gamma Pi go over the next 50 years?
Oh, I think the roadmap is easy, and it's quite simple. We have to remain the premier organization with socially relevant programming in our community. And by that, I mean that it meets the needs of the community. It can't be zip code specific. Mm-hmm. It can't be race specific, because Prince George's County also is evolving from a racial perspective as well. We need to help those people who cannot help themselves, and then help those people who can help themselves, but show them other avenues to improve their quality of lives.
Fantastic, fantastic. Brother Long, our unspoken motto is lifting as we climb. In what direction do you think we need to reach down and lift as we move forward in Gamma Pi?
The direction that we need to lift is lift upward, as you stated, and move forward. And within Gamma Pi, we look at our younger brothers, and we want to see them aspire and excel in leadership within the Gamma Pi chapter. We want to encourage them, we want to mentor them, and we want to be there for them to lift them up, especially those who are interested in leading this chapter and being in a leadership position. So therefore, we make ourselves available, being a member of the Basilei Council of the Gamma Pi chapter. That is one of our roles. That is one of our jobs, to be there and to help prepare those who want to be leaders within this chapter, as well as leaders in the fraternity.
Outstanding. Thank you so much for that. Brother Taylor, during the 2010s, what would you say was one of the most significant events, occurrences, or programs the Gamma Pi put on for the Prince George's County community?
I'll go back just a couple of years. I'd say about 2007, 2008. Okay. The social action chair at the time, Brother Eddie Epps, who was working for Prince George's County Department of Parks and Recreation, came up with the idea of Q Kids. and it was at the recreation center where he was employed. So he had a demographic of young people that were in need of guidance, in need of some support. So we started mentoring the young people in his community center. And that program is still one of our programs to this day. We've moved around the county because Brother Epps has since retired and relocated to another part of the United States. But Q Kids, that's a program that was begun and it's still here. And we're in, what, 23 now. So we've been doing it, we've been performing that task for quite some time.
Outstanding, thank you. Now, each of you brothers were initiated into our fraternity through different chapters. Brother Taylor, you came in through Gamma Pi, and Brother Long came in through your chapter at University of North Carolina. How would you say those experiences were different in your workings with Gamma Pi? Brother Long, you first.
I would say mine was different because when I entered Gamma Pi chapter, I was first invited by Brother Maurice Calhoun. We were both members of the same church. Okay. When I moved to the Washington, D.C. area, I moved to Washington, D.C., and I was a member of Kappa Psi chapter, where I served as the KRS. Then I moved to Prince George's County, and Maurice invited me to Gamma Pi chapter. And when I arrived at Gamma Pi chapter, I liked what I saw. I loved the professionalism that I saw. And I was an outsider because I was not a member of Gamma Pi, nor was I made within Gamma Pi, but I was accepted. And the brotherhood accepted me in as though, hey, he's a brother of Omega Psi Phi. And from there on, it was history. I was in the chapter for only 1 year, and I was nominated for a leadership position by the first bosses of the chapter, a charter member. And I stood to decline the nomination. And before I could decline, he said, I wish you would. So I easily sat down back in my seat, and I took the nomination, accepted the nomination, and from there I moved on. And so I had no issues with being accepted into the chapter because I was an outsider, so-called outsider, because I did not pledge there. But from there, I've enjoyed it, I loved it, and I'm still here.
Thank you very much for that. Brother Taylor, same question to you as a brother that was initiated as one of the sons of Gamma Pi.
Yes.
Tell us about your experience over that time.
It was certainly different because I was initiated within the chapter. The brothers knew who I was, but I was the youngest brother in the chapter in terms of fraternal service, and we all know what that means inside Omega Psi Phi Fraternity. You have to pay your dues. But much to my surprise, the brothers saw that I could write pretty well, I could string some sentences together, and they nominated me for leadership. And then they embraced me to show me how leadership inside the fraternity worked. And that made the difference. So I guess my first 5 years in the fraternity, I joke with brothers all the time, I don't know what it's like to sit in the body because I sat at the table for my first 5 years in the fraternity.
Wow, wow. So what you're saying is the brothers recognize the skill.
Yes.
And they put it to work.
Yes, and they took me to events. They took me to activities. They took me to meet certain brothers because they knew this brother was important for my development as a brother within the fraternity.
Fantastic. Thank you, Brother Taylor. Brothers, thanks again for stopping by. Your stories are uplifting, and we appreciate your work. And thank you for joining us also. We hope these stories help paint the picture of our commitment to serving you over the years. Our dedication to the community is firm, and we will continue to uplift those around us. Recap this episode at gammapi.org. Connect with us on Twitter at GammaPiQs and on Facebook and YouTube at Gamma Pi Chapter. For all of us here at Community Uplift, thank you for tuning in. I'm Brother Eric Fields. We'll see you next time. Take care. And thank you, gentlemen.